God told me, He told me not to take a vacation this year, to share this with people because the time is short, folks.
So these videos are doing the rounds now, and I've seen lots of parody things, I've seen lots of serious ones. Apparently the rapture is happening this weekend, the 18th or 19th apparently, or the start of the end, I don't know. I've lost track with how many predictions come out each year. But apparently, according to this guy, this is it. God told him, and he's got a star chart to prove it.
Jesus Christ is getting ready to blow the trumpet and send us home. The rapture, the Revelation 12 sign, which you see above me, is starting to take form on the 18th. On the 19th, the moon is under the woman's feet. So that's what the Revelation 12 sign says.
What he's talking about is Revelation 12, verses 1 to 3, which says, "A great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and a crown of 12 stars on her head. She was pregnant and cried out in labor and agony as she was about to give birth. Then another sign appeared in heaven. There was a great fiery red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns. On its head were 7 crowns. Its tail swept away the third of the stars and hurled them to earth. And the dragon stood in front of the woman who was about to give birth, so that when she did give birth, it might devour her child." But notice in the text how it's described, and then how this guy is interpreting that with the star sign Virgo. He goes on to talk about a star called the United Nations.
And there you go. We typed in United Nations. Look where that is. Look where Mars is. Mars is also a representation of Satan. But United Nation is the beast system of this world, the Antichrist system, Satan's system.
And equates that to the dragon waiting next to the child, with very little reason or logic for why he's just jumped from the dragon sign in heaven equals the United Nations star name, which of course is the United Nations on Earth, is therefore the dragon, and it's just all assumed to be to make his point, and it doesn't really follow. Like, he doesn't explain why the dragon is United Nations. He just assumes it is, and assumes that everyone listening agrees with that.
With the moon being there, that makes the Revelation 12 sign complete.
This is the other thing. He says the moon being there makes the sign complete. And in Revelation it says there's the woman with the moon beneath her feet. And you can see from his star chart, Virgo's there, the moon's sort of here next to the foot, like at the ankle. It's never underneath. It's kind of a bit of a stretch, to be honest. And he's going on about how this is the sign God's given us, the time is short, yada, 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 that usual thing. But the problem is, I looked up the star chart he uses, because in the next part of the video, he goes on and explains how to find it. Stellarium-web.com or something like that. Problem being is that the position of Virgo always has the sun at her head in the star imagery of the woman, and the moon on its cycle always comes back to her feet every 30 years. So this whole sign is a repetition in the heavens, because everything's on an orbit. It goes in circles. So it's not that unique. It's not like this is the first time in history it's happened. It happened 30 years ago. It will happen in 30 more years. It's happening now. It is what it is, because things rotate.
God told me, and He's only spoken a few things to me my whole life, but He told me not to take a vacation this year, to share this with people because the time is short, folks.
This bit is a little bit risky. I mean, he might very well believe God said this to him, and I mean, if he has and something happens after the weekend, then I will be first to say I was wrong, because I'm not against admitting my mistakes, but I just don't see this as being a true message from God about the end of the time coming in a couple of days. And because he's put it out there like this, it's gonna be, if it doesn't happen, I don't want to say when, but you know, this would automatically throw him into the camp of being the false prophet.
Okay, this is the website right here, so you all know.
So this is the website that he's using, and it's actually a pretty nifty website if you're interested in looking at the stars and things like that anyway. But he's going to show about how to look up the star sign. You can set the date, you can see the star movements based on the dates you set, and also shows there's a star called Child, which does line up with the sort of stomach womb area of Virgo and makes its trajectory, I guess, down through her legs and goes that way. So, I mean, there is some interesting sort of symbology here with what John has written about and the star sign Virgo and this star called Child, which happens to come through the woman, and with the sun at her head, the moon is near her feet. I'm not discounting that John is maybe referencing star signs when he's writing Revelation, but because these motions of the planets and stars happen every so often, and in this case every 30 years with the moon going there, and similar with the way that Child star appears next to her, in her stomach area, it's interesting, the connection, but it's not conclusive proof that this is something that's happening now, because it's happened so many times throughout history. I went through and to verify what you're saying because I wanted to know for certain, and I flicked through the dates into the future until it came back around, and it came back in 30 years. So I went ahead another 30 years and it came back around. So I thought I'd go backwards, and I went back to 30 years ago from today, which was 1993, and lo and behold, the star signs were in the same place. And as far as we can see, the end didn't happen in 1993. I don't really expect it to happen this weekend. And the next time around will be in 30 years. So we can wait and see, can't we?